Welcome to Section 31, episode number 379. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
This week, we're going to talk about the Masters event coming up in San Diego. Not all the details have been picked out, but we have dates, and it's the next Masters coming up. And I've got just a pile of promos here that we're working on putting together, so that's awesome. We also both watched Orville, which I continually spell wrong every time I type it out. And
it is, that's right. It is like the Wright brother, not like a land of gold.
Yes.
It is not
right.
It is not Oroville.
I keep putting an extra vowel in there. It's O or it's I, and neither one's right. And every time I put one in, it's like, oh, that's not it. It must be the other. And it's
neither.
It's neither. So
I did that at first. Oroville. Like
yeah, like, Oroville.
No, just Orville.
Is that how the popcorn is
like the the little plane on his desk?
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, at some point they're going to run to the Wilbur, the sister ship, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised that's not the one that got destroyed.
That'll be be like that episode where they're in that big cloud and the Gilum is going to blow up the other ship, and it's not the Yamato, it's
the Yamato.
It's the Yamato. Right.
Well,
All right. Well, let's start with that. We got to watch the second half of Identity, which was pretty fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit in person, but we didn't want to talk about it too much so we could cover it on the show. We were both right and wrong.
All right.
About how this would resolve.
What do we get right?
Well, I mean, they couldn't resolve this without Isaac turning back, right? Even if they're trying to do some super surprise ending, like that's a little too not Star Trek, off the beaten path. You have to have the redemption of the character, and they did it in a pretty interesting way. I like that he, they had him continue to find excuses to spare the crew.
Exactly.
Logical excuses that made sense. But Primary was having none of it.
Yep.
And which I don't know, that seemed a little too canned for me, actually. I kind of felt like if they're beings going off of strictly logic, then they should have just been like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I think there's probably a little bit more going on with those with the, I can't remember, the Prylars. No, that's
it's like Cylons, except it's a K.
The Kylon, yeah, the Kalon.
Yes,
Kalon. But I like that, he ended up coming back, and the kids, they built that up, his relationship with the kids. And
that's right. They spent several episodes building that up, his relationship with the crew, etc. I couldn't really have seen it go any other way, right?
Right.
But and I, to those guys at a lab I was visiting today, who always hits me up, hey, did you watch the last one? Hey, it was great. It wasn't all a simulation. It wasn't in the holodeck. It wasn't, any other cop-outs that it could have been. They actually pushed through the whole thing. And they did, as we said, a lot that we expected, but they did it really well, right?
Yeah. And they didn't do what they could have done, like cop-out-wise, which is, Isaac turns, and he has some magic field or charge or something that sets off that literally kills every Kalon on the ship, which hopefully he shares with the Union now that they're a huge threat. But that just gets them back their ship. That doesn't take care of all the other ships. They still need help with the fleet, which I thought was a nice compromise, which then goes back to, speaking of building up things that kind of came to a head in this episode, not the Kree. I keep doing that.
Krill?
The Krill. Yeah, the Krill showing up. And I like that, they're like, nope, we're not going to take you at your word. That's ridiculous. And then, oh, well, the sphere shows up all of a sudden of these, heathen robots. Well, that's a worthy adversary. We should definitely cleanse them.
It went really well. I didn't particularly like that the helmsman.
Lemoy.
Gordon.
Gordon.
as in wash your mouth out with.
Yes.
I didn't. He had like two. Hey, this has never been done before. It's like right in a row, or never do this. Leaving
Yeah.
the ship all at warp, and then blowing out the warp drive and using all the fuel at once. And they didn't have to do both of those. They could have just done one of them. Two of them in a row was maybe a little bit much. But
Yeah, there seems to be like I like that somebody at one point described this show as fan fiction, which is not wrong at all.
no, it's pretty accurate.
It's just really well produced fan fiction, and this every now and then you get something like a rookie mistake like that kind of really comes out, and that's one of those like. I think they did that in part 1 or maybe in the episode before that, but they used the same trope like right in a row, and the walk in. Oh, that's what it was. Yes, it was during part 1. They had the kid walk into the cave and go, and they cut away like, oh, we don't get to know what that is, and then we go and we find the kid. Oh, yay! And then new security chief girls, and he's like, there's something terrible in there, and she goes and looks and goes, and they cut away, and we still don't get to know what it is. Like, okay, guys, come on.
That's funny. I didn't notice. Mostly probably because it skips through the commercial, so I can tell where they are, but it doesn't affect. I have to wait for the. But yeah, man, that battle at the end. I'm not gonna lie, I went back and watched it again because it was amazing.
It was pretty cool.
The the pacing was great. There was one or two. Okay, of course that happened. And then there was the Orville blew up, and it was the other ship right next to it. But they had the big scrape when one goes sideways right across the hull.
Yeah,
they had a bit where the side gets blown out and people were spaced, and there was one part where they were flying over the moon, and there were like a couple ships in formation, and one of them just gets destroyed, right? But later on, when they're showing like it from another angle, like a couple of seconds later, it's the ships and then a big pile of debris still moving at full speed because that's what momentum will do for you, right? That was fantastic, and throughout it was much easier to see on a bigger screen than tiny phone, but throughout there was debris everywhere, broken ships. It wasn't just something blows up and everything that was part of that ship is gone. It was just littered with debris, and that was great. Very well done. The graphics were amazing. It was surprisingly easy to follow, even on a tiny screen. What was going on, which ship was where I was supposed to be paying attention. I wonder if Gordon got to keep that ship.
It seems unlikely. We did say that your crewman will be returned to you.
Yeah, so that was probably went back to that
ship. Simultaneously unbelievable and yet extremely fun part of that episode was Gordon getting to fly the Kree fighter. We're like, I don't think it's not like they're randomly short on pilots or something, and they desperately need him to fill in. And they suddenly trust him with one of their fighters, but it was still funny to have him go out as the master pilot and actually get to fly a fighter and make all the Top Gun references.
Yes, that was awesome. I'm surprised he didn't, buzz the bridge or something. That was
Oh god, that would have been funny.
No, that was great. Man, that is just a lot of good stuff, and it left off with I don't know. It reminded me a lot of the end of the second half of Best of Both Worlds, where Picard's just kind of staring off into space, pondering.
Yeah,
and the two of them were just staring off into space, trying to figure out what they're going to do next. It was great all around. Man, I've talked to a few people now that are like, yeah, Orville, it just hasn't been on my radar. And there's like, dude, your favorite show is Next Generation. Why aren't you watching it? So, come on, Charlie.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, fantastic. Anything else? We'll get like more episodes before the season's over, so this is even better. I'm hoping we get a nice fallout. What happened? It seemed like if the fleet took a week to get there, the ships that they had there were only a small part of the fleet. So perhaps, it's not completely decimated. They've still got a lot of ships, but, maybe the Orville becomes a more important ship now because of attrition.
Yeah, I was thinking something maybe like that, but yeah, I agree. That was one of the things that we both kind of commented on, which was, unlike Best of Both Worlds or other, events of this stature in other shows, what not only was it not a cliffhanger, but it wasn't even like a two-part finale. It was like this is the middle of the season, and we still have other stuff. We still have other things that are going to happen. Uh, this season, and so that I mean, there has to be mention of the fallout from that. Even if they're focusing on other things for the A plot. So yeah, I mean, that could be really interesting. That was one of the things that we've touched on as far as Next Generation. Quote unquote faults with Next Generation, which was its kind of lack of serial quality. Yeah. They came back and had Best of Both Worlds Part 2, and then Family, which was an immediate. You couldn't not have some fallout with Locutus, but then it's like, okay, every now and then we mention about, Picard having Borg experience or something. But aside from that, it's like, here we go. Business as usual.
So we're going to get, an entire episode where they're still in dry dock, getting fixed because the whole top, I don't want to call it a nacelle, but that little, nacelle thing at the top,
the engine,
right?
Yeah,
the top third engine was just, cleaved. And that was a great shot when it pulled out wide and the ship was just flying by with just a trail behind it.
Yeah,
that was fantastic, man. So much good stuff. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what the next episode is called. So episode 10 is called Blood of Patriots.
Well,
all right. Well, that sounds like
that could be related.
Yeah. All right. Brilliant. We'll watch that. I'll probably watch it on Friday.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, that's right. I won't have any commercials to flip through, so that'll be fine.
Nice.
All right.
Disco.
Yeah.
Speaking, so on the opposite end of the spectrum,
we got a lot of stuff happening, but I watched it first, and I was entertained because like you, I think you mentioned as soon as it's like 8:30, you can just watch it right away. So I think I watched it that night. That was great. There was a lot of things happening that were, I wouldn't say far-fetched, but they really pushed the technobabble with putting time in front of everything, right?
Yeah, and it was kind of like, I don't know. This felt like the flip side of having a constantly serial episode, series is
filler.
So sometimes you get this episode where it's like things are happening, but nothing actually happens. We're trying to get from point A to point B, and this is 8.5. And so I'm assuming we're going to have something relevant as a result happen, or be realized or gain information from all of the temporal rift nonsense that happened. I liked. You did mention it was kind of wiggly, as far as science goes, but it was interesting to see them at least try to tackle it, as opposed to Next Generation was always like, here's Rift. I don't know what it is. It must go through time, and something comes through, but it's always like a singular point, as opposed to, time is 4-dimensional, and that means this is going to be all weird, weird and wonky. And I liked the whole going back to, I don't know how much you remember about the original pilot, but there's a whole sequence with Pike and his doctor, very McCoy-like, curmudgeonly old doctor, and Pike is really dissatisfied. He's kind of like restless, with being out here exploring, not sure what he's doing, and it's not so much like he's craving action, but he seems like he wants more out of whatever he's doing. And so I kind of thought that was interesting to tackle with Tyler. The way they're talking about, what Pike wants out of what he's doing, and how Pike kind of gets defensive about it. And, that was an interesting, subtle part of his character to weave into the sort of tapestry of TOS background that, could have easily skipped over. Pike is here, he's the captain, whatever. But I thought that was really interesting, and I liked seeing his, sort of test pilot background.
Yeah, I know. I continue to like Pike as a character.
Yeah.
And we'll mention that again when we wrap up. But I don't like Vok, the human.
Yeah, Tyler.
I'm tired. I'm just tired of. I mean, he seems to be a good actor, but I don't like the character. Why, why would they take if he joined Section 31? Sure,
Yeah.
who would want to do that? But why would Section 31 put him on the ship where he is the most despised?
Yeah.
Surely there's someone else who's better equipped to, do a job there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably something where they're like, well, he has the most, he already has experience being with them and, knowledge of Discovery or whatnot. But yeah, I really, it's such an interesting concept for a character that is probably like my least favorite execution of something on Discovery. Like, I don't know, like, it was an interesting lead up. I don't know. I feel like of all the things that have happened on Discovery, that was the biggest cop out. What the way they resolved that. Is he Vok? Is he Tyler? Has he purged Vok from him and now he's become Tyler, or is Vok going to come back over? And they're like, well, he's kind of still there, but he's not.
And I can't. I mean, even though, as mentioned, the war's over, you can't. How could they possibly have an obvious Klingon potential agent who can't control his own mind? Why would that? How does that make sense? Giving him any kind of position where he could be, see information, especially putting him in an intelligence group. I mean,
yeah. Well, and that's the sort of thing where I do kind of buy him being in Section 31. Like, he definitely would never get his Starfleet commission back.
Sure,
but putting him in a place where he can be Black Ops. Now, being a liaison to a Starfleet vessel, unlikely. But certainly Starfleet Section 31. I buy. The only way I buy him being on a vessel as a liaison like that is because it's Discovery. But even that, I agree, is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, stretch is what I would say.
All right. I'm still not sure how I feel about Section 31 being this kind of
open secret.
Yeah, like they all seem to know what it is, and they have all their own ships, and the way we see it in Next Generation era, it's all kind of very secret, and like they have to commandeer resources, and now Discovery has done a lot of things in the first season where they I had these similar questions in the first half of the season, and then it all paid off at the end. So I'm totally holding out hope. But these are the questions I have, and I'm posing as we go in. Like, maybe these are reasons that Section 31 is reduced like that by the time we get to Next Generation, because they did get too much power, because they were a little too.
That's got to be something like that. That's what the Philippa Georgiou's show is coming up, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be, a tragic tale of the fall of Section 31, right?
Yeah. Or like she alludes very heavily that, she's kind of got, what's his name? Leroy? No, Leland. Captain Leland, who is supposed to be the head of Section 31, kind of under her thumb, blackmail wise, in some way. Maybe that is what leads to that, she certainly seems like given her experience, to take that department more into the shadows. And so maybe when she does it, if she does take over, when she takes over, that's what she does. She pulls everything back. It was always it was just a rumor. There were just stories, tall tales. We never existed.
Yeah. Okay.
And makes it very, Sith-like shadow,
to be the Section 31 that we know or we meet in
yeah.
All right,
that would be an interesting, yeah. So that'd be a cool setup. direction to take that.
All right.
Now,
By that sounds good.
there's one more thing that seems vaguely important that we haven't talked about in this episode yet.
Well, we've skipped over the Spock part, but at the very end of the time travel part was the red flashy things into Android Lady, right?
Yeah.
So I can only imagine whatever futuristic probe thing was trying to take over the shuttle is now taking over our Android Lady, right?
Presumably.
All right. Is this why? Is this going to be why we don't have androids on ships anymore? Because this can happen.
Well, she's always been kind of a mystery to me because I mean, don't we get like Data is the first artificial intelligence, sentient creature in Starfleet? So is she like Lobot?
I thought that was the idea.
Enhanced?
It's super enhanced, like to the point of total replacement.
Yeah. But I always get the sense that she was at least partially, she was more cyborg than android.
Yeah,
but that still leaves, the cyborg, the Borg part to be side.
She's been psyop. All right. Okay. Yeah. Something's going on there. So let's talk about the Spock side. So it turns out Amanda has been hiding out Spock in the room of telepathy blockers.
Right. Which I like because that's canon.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
that's cool.
the Kotric Arc style temple. That was a cool use of that.
Him walking in right when she was laying out her plans is classic, monologuing, right?
Yeah.
You won't be able to stop me unless I do.
Yeah, but I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was I might have groaned a little bit at that. I didn't quite understand why he saw everything or how she made the leap that he was talking backwards. But that's fine. We got a coordinate out of it, and it's going to lead us to Talos 4.
Talos 4. Speaking of the cage.
Speaking of the cage. So this, from my perspective, is way too early for us to lose Pike. That's what I'm worried about here. He's too awesome a character for him to disappear like that.
Right.
He's got to last at least the season so that he can be like the
next defensive dark arts teacher.
Exactly. We have a new captain of the ship every season, and
yeah,
so
exactly.
It's like okay, I'll wait.
Oh man.
But I'm looking forward to it. The brief flashes of the big head Telosians look really great. I mean, it was a great throwback to TOS. So like I said, I just hope we don't lose Pike because he's one of the greatest things on the show right now.
Well, I mean, they've been very good about respecting the canon is maybe not the best phrase, but I mean, it's very much been in the canon, right? This has never been like this is a reboot or this is a tangent or anything. So presumably, we still have to tie this into the events of the cage. So far, the only ones we know that end up on Talos are Spock and Burnham. So, and Spock is, I don't know, I kind of grimaced at finally getting Spock in this episode because we did and we didn't, he wasn't really.
Yeah, we got his brother, right? Raving madman.
Right. So, yeah, Cybok.
Yeah.
But, if whatever happens to him or whatever they do there, I mean, they're mind control people, they could easily go there, help Burnham do whatever she needs to do, and then like erase Spock's memory of it or both their memories of it, put them on their shuttle and send them on their way. Maybe this encounter is what leads them to, hook the Enterprise to come back. They're interested in having them.
All right. So how about this question for you? Is it a good idea to go back and watch The Cage and The Menagerie 1 and 2 before this episode? Or is being that, I mean, I would say we're both peripherally familiar with how the episode goes, right?
Sure. I have pretty good memory. I've seen it a couple times.
Is that the right amount of knowledge to
I think so.
go into it? You know,
I think that's probably what they're assuming, like an average fan is going to have. Like, we're familiar with that it exists and that this is basically what happens. I don't know. I think I have truly appreciated the way they've tied in everything, like the shorts, that they've referred back to, that they assume, those are fun, but they have to assume people have not watched those when they do the show, which is why we still got a little bit of expo when we went to Saru's homeworld, Kaminar. But if they do more than that, it would be. I would really appreciate watching it like the first time. So I don't know. Maybe I will go back and watch The Cage. At least The Cage.
It seems like a good idea.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea.
Should we do that?
Yeah. Let's make it a point to do that.
All right.
Maybe like Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
That way you get a full day to process and then forget all the details, and then watch the next episode of Discovery and see how it all ties together.
Cool.
Plan?
All right. I like this plan.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. Well, I think with that, we've hit the limit of our intelligence, or you have one more?
I just want to mention the Masters. It's going to be the last weekend of March. So 30th and 31st, we've got first edition on the 30th and second edition on the 31st. I know you're not going to be around. You're going to be at WonderCon?
WonderCon is correct.
But we have at least, I've heard at least 2, possibly 3 people flying in to join. So we're going to rally as many San Diego people who still play as we can. And last I heard, I think we're going to have another interesting venue. So we'll see how that goes. And the one event is a tin draft. So we'll have,
nice.
Artfully prepared starters for everyone and a couple of seed cards to add in, and then we'll draft a full tin set, and then play, just with the decks we have, and should be a lot of fun. We'll probably do triples afterward. It should be a good time. So looking forward to that. We'll have I'm chatting with Johnny and JD, the other organizers, and we should have some of the details and probably an article going up sometime this week. So look out for that. And like I said, I've got these promos here. This is a 10 replicate the triple coming out of the sphere.
Oh, that's pretty.
And there's a big pile of them here. So the Queen's Border Cube looks fantastic in both editions. I think I saw this second edition one, and that's why I decided, we really need to run a regional or a match. that's too awesome. We need to have some of those giveaway. So brilliant. We'll do that.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Well, if you are interested in coming to the next available Masters, that's going to be here in San Diego in just under 4 weeks. So 4 weeks from yesterday will be the second day. So start making your travel plans, and if you need local travel assistance, you can contact us at section31@danhammond.com. In the meantime, I am Sir Rogue.
And I'm Sir Dan.
And I'll remind you all to expand your power in the universe.
I will draw to end.